Another milestone, and when I say another milestone, it is week 60 of EconoChat Let's Talk Business with Mr. Daniel Steinman. A warm welcome to our listeners, and of course, a warm welcome to Mr. Daniel Steinman. Quite an interesting topic that we will be talking about today, and that is SMEs. And for those who do not know, SMEs does stand for Small and Medium Enterprises. These are the small businesses that, play an important role to, growing the economy of the country, but also help to decrease the high rate of unemployment. Mr. Daniel Steinman, of course, the SME Recovery Loan, we do know that, the capitalist is the budget, that is allocating this money to the SMEs, but of course the Bank of Namibia plays the bigger role, with the commercial banks playing, should I say, the agent or the middleman?
You can call them that. The nice word is the facilitators.
The facilitators, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Thank you for the welcome, Elsabe. Mm-hmm. It's good to be here again, as always.
Yeah.
If we look at the concept SME, small medium enterprise, we have to go make sure what the definition is.
Yeah.
Because in the Namibian context, an SME is not the same thing as in the American context, for instance, and not even the same thing as in the South African context. So we have modified the definition, and I'll tell you why a little bit later. There's a good reason. So we talk about MSME, micro, small, medium enterprises.
Yeah.
Just as an example, anything in America with a turnover of less than $50 million per year is regarded as SME. Medium enterprise. It's not really very big. So to put that in our perspective, that's nearly $1 billion Namibian dollars, So it's a very big company in our context, but it's part of the SME grouping in the American economy.
Okay.
The small enterprise, there's an enterprise of which it doesn't have more than 50 employees, and the annual turnover does not exceed $10 million. Now again, that is nearly 200 million Namibia dollars. You see, so it's very important that if we want to talk meaningfully about what we're going to do for SMEs in Namibia, that we first understand which companies are we talking about, or which, you can't call them companies, which enterprises, which concerns are we talking about. So to put that into perspective, if we talk about micro enterprises, they are really one-man concerns.
Yeah.
If a guy who sells kapana on the street, he's a one-man concern, but he's an enterprise.
Yeah.
He's working for his own pocket. He makes a small profit every day. A car guard in a parking lot is a micro enterprise. He works for himself, but he has to make a living every day. And my wife always asks me, why do the car guards keep coming back, if you give them $2 or $5? And I say, because it's their job.
Yeah.
They make a living. If they couldn't survive on what they make from looking after cars in a parking lot, they would not continue doing it. You will no longer see them. So this is always sort of the benchmark that you apply. But what the two examples that I've mentioned, that's fully in the informal economy. Now you go over to people making clothes at home. They're sort of in between. They all, in certain aspects, they're also informal economy, but often you find, especially among the Herero seamstresses, that there are 3 or 4 ladies working together, and they work at at a particular house or from one of their houses, one of the members' houses, and they make smart dresses, not only Herero dresses. They make everything that you can imagine. I always take my clothes for mending to a particular lady who's also a good friend of mine, And then I'm amazed to see their output. And you would expect that they would only make traditional dresses.
Yeah.
They don't. They make fancy stuff, wedding gowns out of this world. Like you won't believe it. So I'm using them as an example because they are in that process of migrating from an informal business to a formal business, especially if there are 3 or 4 of them working together in a small company or consortium or partnership. I think you can't, the best description is a partnership, because most often than not, the type of money that goes through their hands becomes, let's say, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in a month. Now, you can't go and stash that in cash in your mattress. It becomes too much.
Yeah.
So you have to have a bank account. And if there's more than one of you, the bank account has to have a name.
Yeah.
Because the bank, they have to comply with FIA legislation, the whole know your customer thing. So they want to know who these ladies are, in whose name we are holding this bank account. So let's call them Sunshine Traditional Dressmaking. Regardless of what legal shape or persona they've adopted, they're just a partnership. And these partnerships are flexible. They gain members and they lose members, and they're not static. And if you find an enterprise like this, now you are going from micro to small. You see, and this is the important thing. So in our context, when we talk micro, it is usually one-man concerns, and it's in the informal economy. When we start talking about small, maybe a sole owner, but then with 2 or 3 people working for him or her, or it can be a partnership, 3 or 4 or 5 people working together.
Okay, and then on that note, Mr. Daniel Steinman, of course, when we return, we will be touching on SMEs recovery loans. That is, of course, also the $500 million Namibian that the Bank of Namibia allocated to commercial banks for SMEs. Let's go for that short break.